Money and girls is like a black hole. I feel like there's never enough.
The Dan Bilzerian phenomenon, 44 million people watching you.
It's kind of a crazy thing, man. It just kind of happened out of nowhere. It was just to get laid. Social media was like kind of a tool for that.
In 30 years, you'll still be on Instagram and
Fuck no, man. If I'm on Instagram in 2 years, dude, I'm just so over social media. I think it's like the worst thing to happen in society, honestly. It just takes out like a lot of interpersonal connection. Like I feel like people don't live in the moment as much. People are so worried about capturing it on Instagram. That addiction to likes, commenting, engaging, attention, future generations are like really overstimulated. Fame definitely got some negatives that I feel like people don't consider, like the lack of privacy.
So money doesn't buy happiness?
Oh, fuck no. Chasing money and girls is not what makes you happy. I think happiness comes more from having good friendships and doing things with your friends. I did mushrooms on a beach, and it was just like 5 of my buddies hanging out, talking shit. It didn't cost me anything, and I had like a fucking great time. Like a hippie in a van could have had the same day. It was pretty eye-opening. You don't need a lot of money to like have some really good times.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... I know what you're thinking, Brian. Why have Dan Bilzerian on London Real? This is a guy who throws porn stars into pools, who shoots guns, who has 20 women living in his Bel Air penthouse, massive apartment. But I knew there was something more behind the man. And so when I sat down with Dan, we went straight in and talked about psychedelics. We talked about the relationship between pleasure and happiness. And I went in deep about how he really feels about social media and the dynamics between men and women and how he sees that play out in his life. And it was pretty fascinating talking to Dan and hearing about his new company, Ignite, where he sells CBD and cannabis as well. And he's building an entire business around this whole concept. And I know you're going to enjoy this. This is a very surprising and unexpected episode on London Real. So sit back and prepare to be completely surprised. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dan Bilzerian, the poker player, Instagram influencer, and founder of the cannabis and CBD company Ignite International. After being honorably discharged from the military, following a 4-year service and 2 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks, you attended the University of Florida, where you spent time learning to gamble. This led you to become a professional poker player, winning over $50 million in a single year. Your popularity then skyrocketed as you documented your lavish lifestyle of opulence, sex, and partying with over 44 million people following you on social media. Today, you're the founder of the cannabis and CBD company Ignite and focused on building the most trusted brand in the industry. Dan, welcome to London Real.
Man, that was quite a hype. I like that. We need to go to the bar tonight. You can just introduce me like that. That'll be good.
I don't know if you need any help there. So. How's London treating you? What do you make of this town? Would you ever have a house here?
Man, I don't know. It's expensive. It's hard to live here. I mean, you gotta be really rich to live good here. It's kind of like...
Even compared to Bel Air?
Oh yeah, way more expensive, I think. I think it's more expensive than New York, no?
Could be, yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, you spend a lot of money for a little bit here. But it's I like the people here. The weather, not so much, but it's, I like it better in New York. But I'm not like a huge city guy, so it wouldn't be my...
What do you like about the people here? What do you notice?
I don't know. I just feel like they're pretty authentic. LA people are pretty fake, so that's kind of nice. But I don't know. I mean, always been nice to me, always been cool. I really have nothing bad to say, about London. It's a good spot. Yeah, like Spain, not so much. It was a little dirty. Food wasn't that great.
And what about, you think we could get you in a 3-piece suit while you're here?
I wear them occasionally, try not to, but yeah, never know. I didn't bring any on this trip, so it's not going to happen this trip.
Gotcha.
Me getting in a 3-piece suit, period, is very unlikely.
Well, I told a lot of people I was going to sit down with you, and it's pretty interesting, the reactions I got. I think you divide people when you talk when they talk about you. And what I found interesting was, I told the girls, but it was the guys that actually I found, some loved you and some hated you.
Yeah.
And that actually surprised me. I was just like, why and what's going on? But you definitely are divisive, and
very polarizing for sure.
I was wondering if we could talk about that, and maybe just start off with getting your read on the Dan Bilzerian phenomenon and why people watch you, and just because you probably had time to think about that. And before we get into that, I'd love to get your thoughts on 2 quotes from one of your favorite authors, Henry David Thoreau. Sure. And I'm going to hit you with these now, and then I'd love to get your opinion. The first one is, this one: the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Yep.
The second one is, rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth.
Yep.
What do those quotes mean to you? Because in a weird way, it kind of defines who you are, I think.
Yeah. Just kind of unapologetically myself. I never really confined to the norms, the PC, culture of, you're supposed to say this, you're supposed to do this. I just always kind of, did my own thing. And so I think people are starting to respond really well to that. Like Cardi B, for instance. I mean, here's a, stripper that, she just speaks her mind, and people like that. I think there's a lot of, celebrities coming out now that are very unorthodox, and before it was basically, you couldn't say anything, that was controversial. And I think now the controversy is, one of the more positives. I think it's weird, like some of the, negative press that I got me, more popularity than, some of the positive stuff, so.
Like what? The bear.
Throwing the, Dan Bilzerian throws porn star off the roof, Dan Bilzerian arrested in, LAX on federal bomb making charges,
right.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And it's funny because like those, the bomb making one, that was like pretty low key. I blew up a semi truck that I owned, and they made it sound like I was kind of a terrorist at the airport with a bomb,
Were you blowing it up at the airport?
No, I mean, okay. I flew in there on my plane. Like, I'm not going to blow up my own plane, and so it's a thing. But the headlines now, it's not necessarily about what's true or what's accurate. It's more about like what's going to get somebody to click on this article. We've become like a society of more clickbait. So just that over here. Yeah, it seems like it's about just getting web clicks and not about reporting the news anymore.
And have you always been kind of unapologetic and just been you?
Yeah, I never really like wanted to have like a 9-to-5 or do like a conventional job. Just never appealed to me. So.
You had Cardi B at one of your parties. You guys get along well because you guys speak the truth?
I didn't talk to her a ton, but she seemed nice to me. Yeah, I do like the fact that she's just kind of who she is, and she doesn't really give a shit.
You think Donald Trump kind of ushered some of this stuff in as well, just being himself?
I mean, the guy became president based on that, right? I mean, kind of, yeah, it's crazy. Name calling and doing all this wild shit and getting people to pay attention to him.
Right. And what do you make of the phenomenon that is Dan Bilzerian? 44 million people watching you, and
crazy thing.
Yeah. Why do you think it's there? Is it because most people are living those lives of quiet desperation, and
yeah, I mean,
you're
I think,
a reflection of what they could be?
Yeah, I think people are just they're just doing what they're supposed to do or what people tell them to do, and it's kind of unfortunate. It's afraid to kind of step outside the box, and I've lived outside the box my whole life. So
right, it's just you just started showing it in the last 5 years on social.
Yeah, I think like 7 years. Can I put this on my shirt?
Yeah. So back to the Dan Bilzerian phenomenon. 44 million people watching you.
It's kind of a crazy thing, man. It just kind of happened out of nowhere too. Yeah, it's like a couple little things like the porn star off the roof, and then just starts the momentum just picks up, and I think it's like once you get to 100,000, then it's easier to get to 500. Once you get to 500, it's easier to get to 1 million, and then because the thing is like so as soon as like one person likes it, then everybody that they see that follows them see that they like, what I mean? So it's like that, tree branch effect.
Right.
So.
And was this always a plan? Is there a master plan behind it or not? Because some people say
honestly,
you're the social media genius. But.
It was just to get laid. I mean, that was really like the whole like start of this thing, was just to kind of, subtly brag online and get laid easier with less effort. And social media was like kind of a tool for that. And
that's something that didn't happen much when you were a kid?
Like not a ton in high school. And then, the military was, I was in SEAL training most of the time. So, yeah. College, it was good, but, yeah.
And you said before that, you didn't get much attention as a kid, which is why now you like to, be a flashy lunatic. That's what you said before. Is that a generalization, or is that a fair assessment of you?
I mean, that was probably a contributing factor, I think. I think when I look back, a lot of the things that I did was, like when I was a kid, my dad had the big house, but he didn't have the Ferraris, he didn't have the fast boats and the nice watches and all the stuff that my neighbor did. So I think a lot of stuff from your childhood influences you. So when I, made a ton of money, I just went out and, got all that stuff. I got the, the cars and the watches and the plane and the, all the stuff. So.
Do you think you're an extroverted person? Because you seem kind of like an introvert sometimes.
I'm so overexposed that to me, I think fame is isolating, fame and money too. So I would say the more the spotlight's on you, the more you kind of don't want it. You're like, you ever go out and you feel like people are looking at you? Well, like imagine going out and feeling like that, and they just always are, So it's like, after a while you lose your privacy, and then you're just like, fuck, I don't know. Like going out such a production, you need security, you need this, you need that, and then you're gonna have to take a bunch of pictures and talk to people and have conversations, and I don't know. I mean, if you go out and you're fucking high, you don't really want to talk to a bunch of strangers, Remember I was on mushrooms one time and I got fucking cornered. I walked out to this peninsula. I was in Mykonos, and I came back and there was like all these people waiting to talk to me. I was like, fuck, that was the last thing I wanted to do, but I didn't have a choice. I could have swam around them maybe. I contemplated that, but it's just, your life just changes. It's not, not the same. Like you can go out to a bar, you go to a ball game, and it's not a production. Like if I went to a sporting event, I'd have 1 million people come up and want to have a conversation with me. So
you posted something on your Instagram a few months ago about an Alan Watts video, and as you said, this is what I think about when I'm on the mushrooms, and it was I think it was talking about what happens when you only pursue pleasure.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting to see you post that, and you're like, this is what I think about sometimes. And
well, I think I said that's pretty much a summary of a lot of what I learned when I did some mushrooms. Pleasure seeking, it's not the same as going after happiness. It's more fleeting. The video summed it up probably better than I could do in this interview.
It got deep really at the end. It was like, you're one with the divine. It's better to give than receive. It was stuff you don't see on Bilzerian's Instagram account necessarily.
It's true though, man. Like, and it's funny because my dad told me that when I was younger. He's like, yeah, it's better to give than receive. I was like, well, that's perfect because I love to receive and you like to give. I was like, you can just give me a bunch of shit. And I was like, we'll both be happy. But it's funny because later on you start to realize that doing stuff for other people, makes you more stoked than just buying shit for yourself. So yeah, I think he was dead on that deal.
And you think about like connecting with the divine and all that stuff and humility and those kinds of things?
Humility, yeah. Connecting with the divine. I mean, I think Alan Watts's view on, like the whole God thing was more, he thinks that, everybody's kind of a part of God, that, everybody's kind of connected and that, I don't know. I think he believes more that this is a bit of a simulation that people are playing, that they're not God. Because, I don't know, like, I think I've focused on control a lot. And I think when you focus on control, you kind of lose the element of surprise. And I think that's like, the unexpected. I think that's a good part of life. And so being a control freak and, trying to control everything, I think is probably not the answer.
Which you used to be.
I mean, I still am.
Right, but you're trying.
A lot of these things I recognize, but I still keep fucking doing them.
Yeah.
Like, I realize that, like, chasing money and girls is not what makes you happy, but I still do it. Like, it's funny because when I was younger, I thought, like, when I got to $1 million that I'd be happy. And then it would be enough, and then like 5 million, and 10 million, and it's like every time you hit a milestone, like I was so sure that the million would be enough, and then you get to the next point, and then you just realize that it's not the money that's going to make you happy, but then I still chase it. I don't know, I'm the kid that just fucking sticks his finger in the light socket, gets shocked, and then keeps going back to check if it's still doing it. So
what does make you happy?
Adventure, doing different things, building things, helping people out. Yeah, I would say. I mean, sex does too. Yeah. Connecting with people, hanging out with friends, surfing, being out in the sun, working out. More simple shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that like doesn't require money, but.
In that video, he said, if you know the future, then it's the same as the past. So the video is all about introducing unknowns into your life.
Yeah, and just kind of like, taking it as it comes. Because I mean, if you knew your whole life, like it was all mapped out for you, would it be interesting?
No.
Yeah, probably not. So I mean, that's kind of like, I feel like a lot of people, they map out their life and they, do these things and they go to their job and every day it's the same fucking thing and they know it's going to be the same thing and there's not like a whole lot of intrigue in that. Fuck, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year. Like if you would have asked me if I was doing this 5 years ago, I would have, said no. You know what I mean? So it's like, I definitely have that unknown element in my life. And I think that's probably, part of the reason why it's intriguing to people because they never know where it's going to go.
What was the best day of your life?
Man, best day of my life. I don't know. I would say I did mushrooms on a beach with my girlfriend, my buddy and his girl, another buddy and his girlfriend, and another buddy and his girlfriend. And it didn't cost me anything. And I remember smoking a joint on the way back and just thinking like a hippie in a van could have had the same day as me on this beach and it wouldn't have cost him anything. And it was just, it was pretty eye-opening. And I didn't do much. Like I fucking swam in the ocean, hung out with my friends, did some breath holding stuff, went for a swim, laid out on the beach. It was just like, it was a great day, but it didn't require much, surfing, stuff like that.
So life's simple. The great things in life can be simple.
Honestly,
and free.
man, yeah, some workouts, and outdoor stuff, hanging out with my buddies, like shit that you don't need a lot of money to like have some really good times. And when I was in the military, I didn't really have much money and I had a fucking great time. I think money does is it gives you access, it gives you the ability to not put up with shit from people, which is nice. I don't like putting up with shit from people. I don't like taking orders. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I could say the positives of money is the freedom, is the power, flexibility, stuff like that. But it definitely comes with a lot of headaches too.
Right.
So
same with fame.
Yeah, fame more headaches than positives. But as far as like the stuff that I, focused on, like the girls and money, fame is pretty powerful. So, but, I mean, it just depends on what your objectives are, but I would say it's probably a net negative. Like if I had a kid, I wouldn't choose to make him famous. I'd let him make that choice because it's not something that you can kind of go back on, like once you fucking take that gene out of the bottle, like it's, kind of hard to stuff him back in. So I don't know. I made my bed, I gotta sleep in that motherfucker and I can't complain. I feel like a lot of people want to be sleeping in that same bed. So I'm, I'm not gonna bitch about it, but it's definitely got some negatives that I feel like people don't consider.
Yeah.
Like the lack of privacy. I mean, absolute lack of privacy. So, and everything that you do is, potentially going to be magnified, going to be judged by the world, going to be, scrutinized, whatever. So, I'd say there's a decent amount of pressure as well. And I would say that like, I think happiness comes more from having good friendships and doing things with your friends. I would say that that's where I get the bulk of my happiness. And as much as like I talk shit about the 9-to-5 guys, I mean, that's just like me personally. Like I don't think that life would make me happy, but that's not to say that like somebody can't be happier than me doing that stuff. Because if they've got good friends and they're having fun, like, maybe they're fucking having a game night. Like I had a game night at my buddy's house. We just like fucking played Monopoly and then we played a $20 poker game. And then we played Risk. And I had like a fucking great time. You know what I mean? It was just like 5 of my buddies hanging out, talking shit, And so, and it was, a buddy of mine that I was in the military with and couple of his friends, the drummer from System of a Down, and this other dude, and we had a great time. And then I went on tour with that guy, the same guy, the drummer, whatever. And fucking 3 weeks in Europe, and we went to sold out shows and whatever. And it was just like fucking sucked. Like I thought I was gonna get all this pussy. I thought it was gonna be great. We didn't get laid for like 3 weeks, man, and it was just like the biggest letdown. And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm like with a rock star, we're like doing all this shit. And it was just like so fucking lame, and like that game night was way more fun, right? Like, so like a lot of times, like it's not like, it's kind of counterintuitive, you wouldn't expect stuff. A lot of people think like, oh, if I got a bunch of money or I got this or whatever, then I'd be happy. And
so money doesn't buy happiness.
Oh, fuck no. Money, just a lot of headaches and problems. I mean, and there's like good stuff to it too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of positives, but
it can buy pleasure. But
yeah, I mean, I talked about this a few times in interviews before. Is like the thing about money. The reason that it makes you unhappy is because it basically raises the bar. So like right now, I'm used to the best food in the world. I'm used to the best watches in the world. Only the hottest women could even like turn me on. Like I'm trapped in this like fucking box, right? And all these things, like, I'm doing stuff that like would make other people's like dreams come true. And for me, it's just like baseline. It's not like anything that like I'm like super stoked about, a fucking ton of hot chicks in a night or 2 nights or whatever. And like, it'll be fun, whatever, but like I won't really like be like crazy happy about it. Or, you know, I bought that new Ferrari when it came out, and I was stoked on it for like 20 fucking minutes, maybe. And I drove it like 120 miles in like the 10 months I had it, and then fucking sold it. And I was just like, damn, I expected to get like at least like a few months of happiness out of that one. It's like nothing. And like, as you get more and more used to that shit, it's just baselines you. So then everything else is a letdown. Like if I were to drive like, I don't know, whatever would be like not as good as a Ferrari, you know, like that like 20 years ago I would think would be bad. Maybe like a Mustang Cobra, like 20 years ago I'd think that'd be like a fucking badass car. And now I'd be like a big letdown. Like if that was like my rental car, I'd be like, oh, what a piece of shit, you know? But like it's the same car that would have stoked me out like not that long ago. So what it does is it basically just like puts you at a spot where like only the dopest shit satisfies you, then everything else will let down. So it's kind of hard, like if you think about it in that, you know, perspective, like you have to have the best chefs, you have to have the best whatever, all this stuff to just like, you know, for you to feel like, you know, you're in like your environment, you're in your comfort zone, right? But then like once you get to that point, then like you have nowhere else to go up and you can only go down. So I think that's why, and then once you get used to that level, then if you like can't afford to like live on that level, man, you've got a long fucking way to drop. So I think that's like the negative correlation between money and happiness is your ability to adapt to whatever your current situation is. So like within, I don't know how many day or month period it is, but you will adapt to almost any situation. So if you adapt to a really great situation, then you've got a lot of fucking way to fall. But if you adapt to a really shitty situation, like let's say you're in Auschwitz or you're in a POW camp or whatever, like, and you get out, like you're gonna be fucking stoked about like, you know, taking a shit in a regular bathroom instead of a fucking, you know, like your bedroom, and like you're gonna be stoked that you get to eat like a fucking meal that you would normally think would be shitty, right? Like all these like little things. Like when I got out of boot camp, stoked about all this stuff. So, you know, just perspective.
And so then how do you stay happy? New challenges, like companies,
yeah, man, you
presidencies.
just gotta, you know, try and climb new mountains, you know, just try and, you know, accomplish new things. That's the way that I've found, you know.
You like mushrooms, and mushrooms kind of dissolve the ego. Is that something you like to play with? And do you have an ego?
I've honestly probably done mushrooms only like 12 times my whole life, so it's not like a huge part of my life, but I've just definitely had positive experiences with them just because I think in very moderate doses, not like huge amounts, but like small amounts, they take your ego out. They kind of, you know, slow down time a little bit. They make you think about things from a slightly different perspective. And it like quiets out a lot of the noise and a lot of the distractions, if you will, and allows you to kind of just like figure out, because like deep down, you know, like what you should be doing or what makes you happy or what, you know, is the right path or whatever. But you get distracted by the shiny shit, you know, the pleasure, the whatever. So, but it's also good to just do it with your friends and have fun and laugh and fuck around and whatever. But you can get a lot from them. I mean, just go off on a hike on your own, take one or two, and kind of work through your shit. So, yeah, big advocate of those. And I'm actually super stoked that they legalize them in Colorado and Northern California now.
Think Ignite might one day be involved in psilocybin?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to be involved in that. It's just, you know, like I said, such limited markets.
Yeah. I had a big ayahuasca ceremony last year in Costa Rica, 3 big ones. Man, taught me so much, but also some very difficult evenings. Is that something you think you'll play with at some point?
Kind of scared me a little bit, honestly. I haven't tried it. I did DMT a few times, and
it's different.
Yeah, I've heard some like horror stories from that stuff, you know, like some people that kind of like had a bad trip and never came back from it, or like weren't the same. So that kind of scared me. I've been contemplating trying acid in a very small dose to start. But I'm still on the fence of that. I like the idea that mushrooms come from the earth, they're natural. It's a whole fucking
So
thing.
does ayahuasca.
Yeah, it is.
2 vines.
I've done peyote. I
Okay.
did peyote one time.
Okay.
Ayahuasca is just a big commitment, man. That's like, that's full send. That's like 12 hours.
Well, no, I'd say it's more like 3. I think.
Really?
Yeah, for me, it's 3 hours until I can actually open my eyes and maybe walk. And I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
And I do go through probably some of the more difficult moments of my life physically.
3 hours before you can open your eyes?
Before I can maybe know that I exist. You know what I mean?
Wow. Fuck me.
And then in the meantime, I'm in my head and stuff. It's probably like doing 5 grams of mushrooms or 6. But ayahuasca is different. But I get lessons from ayahuasca. Like
I got lessons from mushrooms.
Yeah.
You didn't?
I get some, but man, I got like machine elves in my head with mushrooms.
You got what?
I got these little machine elves in there. Like they come into my head with mushrooms, and sometimes they just confuse me. And I don't always get really strong lessons.
How much do you take?
4 or 5 grams.
Oh yeah, maybe take less, bro.
Yeah, maybe. I usually stay inside and I'm on the beach, and sure as hell I'm not talking to
I
people.
never stay inside. I hate being inside.
Okay.
I'm always in nature.
I like nature too on a lower dose too, but
Yeah, I think lower dose is the move.
I think
I think a lower dose, like go for a hike by yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, try like just a couple mushrooms, not even a lot. I know a UFC fighter, he microdosed mushrooms before every one of his fights.
Yeah, I know microdosing can be powerful.
Yeah.
But I think you'd find ayahuasca pretty powerful. So
No, that's my fear, is that I find it too powerful.
yeah.
I smoked DMT one time, small amount on the top of some weed, and I had a pretty positive experience for a short period of time. And then I did 2 different times with the DMT when I did big hits, and like did the whole like hold it in and do 3 hits or whatever. And I was like fucking on a different planet. I didn't get anything out of it. I was just like, so fucked up that I don't like being in a state where I'm not like present, conscious, and thinking. And on that, I felt like it just like took me fucking way out there.
Yeah, it does that. I never get lessons from DMT. I just go into like a video game.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like.
I was
as
like
a
in
video
Donkey
game.
Kong, and I was just like, okay, it's nice to know it's there, but I didn't bring anything back.
Yeah, nothing. I
Whereas
think
with
it's
ayahuasca,
shit.
which is oral DMT, I get lessons at the end. Like, okay, this is what you got to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you act on those?
I do, but it's never as fast as I want it to. And then when I look back, so I look back 3 months later, and I'm like, you haven't even done this. And when I look back 12 months later, I'm like, actually, you have started to do this stuff. But I'm a big fan of doing it like once a year heavy or once every 2 years heavy, and then taking action and meditating. I don't believe you should be going every weekend or 2 weekends for ayahuasca. I think then you're just living in that state.
It's a lot, yeah.
But if you do take a big dose, like Terrence McKenna used to say, take a large dose infrequently with psychedelics, get the lesson, and then hang up the phone.
Interesting. I always like the smaller. I'm pretty drug sensitive though, so.
The thing about not being in control is that it holds you to look at that pain and that emotion, and you can't go anywhere. So like you can't go anywhere, and for 2 hours, which can feel like 2 years, you got to face it, and then you process it in a way where you couldn't process it if you could maybe walk away from it. And that's why I think it's helpful.
Interesting. I feel like you got to be ready for that.
Definitely, you do.
I think the way to get ready for it is by doing smaller amounts.
Could be. I mean,
Because then you know what you're expecting, and you also are more comfortable with it. And when you're more comfortable with something like that, I feel like you're less likely to kind of freak out. And the more you go into it with a positive mindset, with less fear, I think the more likelihood you're going to have of having a positive experience. So I think fear is like one of the worst things. And I think the more you do it and the more you kind of work up to it, the less likely you're going to go in there fearful. But I don't know too much about the ayahuasca, so maybe that's something that, you get more if you just fully dive in. For me, being completely out of control and like not being like mentally present for 3 hours, that'd be a lot. I don't know because I'm like a real big control freak.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I like
too.
the mushrooms too, is because I'm forced to just kind of like let go and just go the course, do the journey and not like have to fucking, have control over the whole thing. So it's like one of the few times when I'm like out of control. Because otherwise in my life, I'm like so in control of everything. I've got fucking, all these people that I can make things happen and, I don't know. I almost feel like I just feel like I'm like playing a video game with a cheat code almost sometimes in my life, you know, like whatever the fuck I want, like it just like happens, you know. I can
But
just
again, that's like knowing your future.
Yeah.
Alan Watts would say, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, for sure. That was why I was just like a little bit like, damn, guy's got a fucking point.
I'm always nervous before going to the ayahuasca ceremony, but you know, you got a shaman with you. I was in a good place in Costa Rica, and it was like a solid, you know, environment. And I'd done it before, so I didn't
Peru
freak
is
out.
where most people go now.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough there. I mean, it's proper jungle, and you know, it's just harder to get to. Costa Rica's a little more second world. So,
Yeah.
what do you think you're gonna be doing in 30 years?
In 30 years? Fuck. Lucky to be alive in 30 years, man. I don't know. That's a long time.
You think you'll still be on Instagram and still be posting things?
Fuck no, man. If I'm on Instagram in 2 years from now, I'll be fucking not pleased with it.
Well, what does that mean?
I mean, dude, I'm just so over social media. I think it's like the worst thing to happen in society, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really bad.
Not just you, but to society.
Yeah,
It's more lies, right? It's not the truth. Is that why?
No, that's not. I mean, there is a piece of that. Like people are presenting kind of like the best version of themselves. I always prided myself on like the authenticity of my social media. But I think the real issue with social media is that addiction to likes, that addiction to people, you know, I guess, commenting, engaging, giving you praise, admiration, whatever, attention, that whole thing. Like, I mean, if you see the shit people are doing to fucking get likes and comments on Instagram and like, and it's tough because now it's like you could do one thing and it could like go viral and you could be making like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Like this girl goes on fucking TV and says like, cash me outside, and acts like a complete fucking jackass, and then turns that into like a multi-million-dollar fucking business where she's like selling out shows as a 16 or 15-year-old rapper, you know. I mean, it's just like, it's a fucking crazy world that we live in. And because of those, like, you know, few examples, now, like, you know, people think that that could happen to them, and like, because there's like some kids playing video games making $10 million a year. Now, like when I was a kid, like parents were like, stop fucking wasting your time playing video games. And nobody clapped back with like, oh, I could be making $10 million a year playing video games because look at this guy. Like that wasn't a thing, you know? And so now it's like, you know, that could, you know, be a rebuttal. And I think, I don't know, man, I think our generation, well, not our generation, but the future generations are like really overstimulated. I think they spend way too much time on their phones. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. But it just takes out like a lot of interpersonal connection. It removes their ability to interact as well. It's just overall not good. Like I feel like people don't live in the moment as much. People are so worried about capturing it on Instagram and getting that photo or getting that video that they don't like enjoy what they're doing as much. And so I think there's just a lot of negatives to it. There's also the, you know, online bullying, there's the people commenting, there's the bandwagon shit, there's, you know, everybody's got a fucking, you know, cause that, you know, everybody hates this person, everybody loves this person, you know, it's just like, I don't know, so much judgment. You know, everybody's got an opinion in the comment section, got all these fucking armchair quarterbacks, you know, throwing in their 2 cents. And I know a lot of girls that it's definitely negatively affected where, you know, their self-esteem is, you know, brought down, guys talking shit to them, whatever. It's, I don't know. I mean, but there's positives too. It's taken away a lot of the power of the media, which is a good thing because I fucking hate the media. And it's good that it's being restored more to the people so that, you know, when people run these bullshit articles that are clickbait or that are whatever, inaccurate, now people have the ability to kind of like come back. Like, you know, NBC didn't want to post or didn't want to allow one of Ignite's riders to post, you know, the sticker with the Ignite CBD or whatever. And I just like looked up their viewership and their whole network got like 7 or 8 million views. And I looked up mine and it was like 58 to like 36 million views per post. So it was like, you know, my shit was like, you know, 6 to 10 times what their whole fucking network was. So it was like nice to just be like, you know, suck my dick, NBC. Like, I'm reaching way more people than you, so go fuck yourself anyways. And like, if they ran a shitty article about me, I could reach out to more people and, you know, set the record straight. So that's kind of nice. It's nice to have that power. Like people, you know, like this one asshole, he didn't want to refund my security deposit, so I put him on blast and, you know, shut his phone lines down, shut his internet down. Like people were like going crazy, fucked up his whole Yelp review, this and that. Money was in my account the next day. You know, there's been a few times like this, you know, company didn't want to honor a warranty on one of their things. And so I did like a quick Snapchat about it, shut his fucking phone lines down, shut his emails down, fucked up his whole Yelp thing. Basically, I mean, could have put the guy out of business. I had it up for like 30 minutes and then I deleted it. Owner calls me, he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, we didn't know it was you. And I'm just like, listen, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is. Like, it shouldn't matter that it's me. It should matter that like you should honor the warranty for your fucking product, you know? And so I think like there's kind of a nice part about that. Like there was another time my girl ordered a pizza and they basically, you know, she called back like 40 minutes later. She's like, oh, like, what's the status of the order? And the guy's like, oh, you never placed an order. And I was like in the car, I was on speakerphone, like I heard her like do it. And she's like, oh, well, like, can I talk to a manager? And he's like, I am the manager. He's like, you know, you didn't put in an order, sorry, and hung up on her. And then like she called back and he basically told her to go fuck herself. And so I like, you know, did a little Snapchat, shut their fucking phone lines down, I had every asshole from India and fucking China ordering pizzas and fucking this and that. Fucked their whole business up. The owner of the thing went fucking crazy. He calls me, ended up firing the fucking prick. And you know what I mean? So I actually like, we got something done there, you know what I mean? Like, and that felt good. Like it's good. Like sometimes you gotta like fuck these people up a little bit to like get them accountable. And I think, you know, the more people do that, you know, the more these businesses are going to start, you know, paying a little bit more attention to their customer service and how they treat people. And if they don't treat people well, it's going to bite them in the ass. And so, you know, there's some positives to it.
And now you're launching a global brand on the back of it.
Yeah.
And you can do things in Canada that some of the companies can't do there, or people can't do with endorsements. And
yeah, there's no celebrity endorsements. So there's, you know, no real branding on the product. There's a lot of restrictions on how you can advertise. And, you know, my personal brand and what I've done over the years, obviously, like, you know, can't be, you know, regulated in the future, right? So like, everything that I've done and like me not selling out, me being honest with my followers, me not promoting shit that I don't believe in, like all that stuff, you know, when I do endorse a product, you know, people take that into account and it's valuable. So
it's exciting. We've never seen a company built with something like this.
Well, that's not necessarily true. You've got, you know, Bang Energy, fastest growing energy drink company in the world right now, growing faster than Red Bull, Monster, all these fucking guys. Yeah. Strictly social media marketing. You got Fashion Nova doing $2 to $3 million in sales, strictly social media marketing. You got Revolve that just went public for, you know, multi-billion-dollar valuation, strictly social media marketing. So, you know, this is not a totally foreign concept. It is a new one. A lot of these dinosaurs don't get social media yet, and, you know, they're running big companies and they're gonna get roasted for it. Like they're just gonna lose. They're gonna figure it out, or, you know, they're gonna go like VHS did, you know, when fucking DVDs came out. So it's definitely the way of the future. I mean, your CPM and the value of your endorsement is so much stronger when it comes from somebody that you're following, that you trust, as opposed to some commercial that comes on TV that people know is a commercial, that they mute, they walk away. If they're TiVoing it, they fast forward, whatever. So the value that you get on a social media post and those eyeballs are much, much more valuable than you'd get traditionally advertising. And the amount of money that you pay for it is, you know, it's pennies on the dollar. So it's the future. There's no doubt about it. And also, you know, in markets like cannabis and whatever, where it's regulated, nicotine, you're able to do a lot more than people can do traditionally. I mean, look, I'm anticipated in states and countries where it's fully illegal. Canopy can't go fucking put billboards in, you know, these states that are fully illegal. They can't put billboards in these countries. So, I mean, I can build a brand in places that they just can't.
Right. Let's talk about the women, because a lot of people know you because of the women. I mean,
That's how it all started.
well, with what, throwing the porn star off the roof?
The trying to impress them with the Instagram stuff and whatever.
You started posting like the guns, but then you said the girls got more, and then later the cannabis got more, which we'll get to.
Yeah, so I mean, initially it was kind of lifestyle stuff, and then I would put the girl stuff in there too. And it's funny because the jealousy was actually like more of a driving force than anything else. If girls see other hot girls that are interested in you, it's, you know, I think the most powerful like driving factor, like more so than the money and the fame and all the others. Well, maybe not more than fame. Fame kind of is a trump card, but
you said fame like 100x's things.
It's a crazy thing. Like, yeah, it's a crazy thing. Like situations that would never happen otherwise. Yeah.
Is it now have a life of its own? I mean, can you control it now?
Yeah, there's no stopping it now. You know, the train has left the station. So, like, I didn't post for like a month or two and figured like it would kind of go away, and it's not going away.
Okay. And the women that are around, well, first of all, you probably heard connections with Hugh Hefner. Are you the modern day Hugh Hefner? And like that image, one guy with like 8 women, like you do or Hef does. Yeah. I mean, that does everyone's head in, right? And in the Puritan America with, you know, family values, you know, why is that such a hard thing for people to get their head around? And what are you telling them?
I don't know. I mean, I think like recently society has said certain things are okay and certain things are super bad that had been going on for like thousands of years. Like back in the day, I mean, it was normal for a person to have more than one wife. You know, not that long ago, if you won a battle, you would rape and pillage and you would steal stuff from the village, you'd have sex with all the women, and that was fine. And now, I mean, that would be, you know, crazy war crimes. And I just think in the last 100 years, things have just changed a lot. But I think it's more normal than people lead on. I mean, if you look at, you know, in the animal kingdom, I mean, there's one stud animal that has sex with, you know, most of the, you know, females. And I think in our society, it's actually, you know, that is actually what happens. It's just not necessarily broadcasted as much. It's not kind of put out there. But I think 5% of the guys have sex with like pretty much all the girls. So I think it's been happening, and I think it happens like that. I just think, you know, before social media, I don't think it was as public, you know, and I also think it's a little bit counterproductive to post about it, because I think a lot of these guys, you know, would do it a little bit more on the slick. And I've always just been like, fuck it. Like I always tell the girls the truth. So I never lied about anything. Which surprisingly made it easier, actually, because then, I don't know, if you ask me, or let's say if I asked my girl, like a girl that I was dating, like, hey, how many guys do you have sex with last week? And she told me I had sex with 6 guys last week. I'd know she was telling me the truth, right? Because like no girl would like lie in that direction, you know? Or if I said, how many guys have you had sex with your whole life? And she told me, you know, 537. Like I would know she's telling me the truth. So I think when these girls ask me questions and I tell them answers that they, you know, normally wouldn't want to hear, it builds trust. So it's like a strange thing. But it's, you know, it's a little counterintuitive.
And why do they stay? Why do they stay?
I think different reasons. You know, some of them want to be famous. Some of them are having fun. Some of them genuinely like me. Some of them just enjoy the lifestyle. Some of them are there for the adventure. Some of them are there because they're not supposed to be there. A lot of them come because they've broken up with a boyfriend and want to piss him off. That's like the number one, I think. But yes, a lot of different reasons, I would say.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.